Well, hello, everybody. So happy that you could join me. And hello, hello. Just so great to see you all. Bless you, Rue and Nancy and Kathy. And I think I saw Stever here and Sherry and everybody who is going to be helping me moderate this today. God bless you. And I've seen quite a few people who are from Tennessee or North Carolina or Appalachia, and I just wanna let you know that I've been praying for you, and I just hope that all of us here in the chat and people who are watching this video later will remember our brothers and sisters and the people who are, suffering as a result of the hurricane that came through, and, um, yeah, God bless you all, and just know you're in my thoughts and prayers, and if there is a way that we can actually contribute to helping, I know that I would really like to be able to help people who are in need, and so if there's any special way that you people who are back there know of any way that we can assist you, please let us know, and, we'll do what we can. Hi, Vinny in India. Oh my goodness. It's always amazing to see people from all over the world. So thank you for coming. And oh, we got someone from Barcelona. Hello, Diamond 74, Eastern Tennessee and Illinois and Canada. Wonderful. So great to have you all here. And if you are going to ask a question, I ask that you do what Kevin Dunn has done, and that is put them in all caps. So um, that would be great. Okay, so the title for, this video is, "Are We There Yet?" And I'm sure that a lot of you who were, kids, growing up and didn't have, ways to know how far it was, we didn't have GPS and all of that kinda stuff. I remember being a kid in Minnesota, and my brother and sister and I would all be in the back seat of an unair conditioned car in the summer, and we'd be going to visit my grandparents who lived in northern Minnesota, and Minnesota in the summer is not pleasant, let me tell you. It's very hot and humid. And of course, there weren't back in the day, there weren't like McDonald's and all of that restaurants and places to go. And my mom would pack us a little picnic, and we had, Kool-Aid and stuff, and we'd stop midway and usually in Bemidji and see Paul Bunyan and, have our little picnic, and we would be asking, about halfway, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And when we got to a certain point, I don't remember exactly where, but my parents would let us know, "Well, it's only an hour now," or "It's only 40 minutes. We're almost there. We're almost there." So we're all like little kids here, just waiting, wondering, "Are we there yet?" And on any long journey, oh man, I'll tell you, it's nice to know where you're at and are you there yet? So I remember a few years ago, and I don't remember the exact year, but it was before I began on my Revelation adventure in the book of Revelation. I was very interested though in end times, and I I was wondering, what is the deal? How close are we to the rapture? And of course, back then I was still thinking 7-year tribulation, pre-tribulation rapture, rapture in the twinkling of an eye. Was I going to be caught unawares and all of that? And so, oh, let me quick read this here. Um, Dr. Barry, oh, okay. So I guess there's a way to get a hold of Dr. Barry to be able to help. So that would be great. Okay. So thank you. Appreciate. I didn't see who did that, who put that on there. Christy, thank you. That's wonderful. Okay, so I was wondering about where we were at, and I know I've shared this on my um, channel in the past. When I share particular dreams that I've had, and I haven't had a lot, but I've had a few. I've had maybe 3 dreams and a vision, which, Connie asked if I would go ahead and share my vision of Taiwan. And one of the dreams that I had was this dream of being in the labor and delivery room, and I was trying to see the person who was about to deliver the baby, and I didn't know where we were at in the process. How long would it be till the baby was delivered? And of course, this is a kind of symbolic of the Revelation 12 story where the woman Israel is going to go into travail, have a war, which appears to be the case right now, and how close are we to when the baby is gonna be delivered? And so I was really frustrated because there was this giant man, big guy, like a linebacker, all dressed in black, blocking my view so I couldn't see, how soon this baby was gonna be born. And this voice asked me, "Well, would you like to see what's going on?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, just step over here to the side and you'll be able to see." So I was able to see when the baby was born, and as soon as the baby was born, this big man, grabbed that baby, and I believe he represented an angel. He was, someone very strong and very powerful, and grabbed this, baby and just dashed out of the room. So, what the Lord was saying to me was, "Hey, Brenda, I think I I wanna show you something here. Are you up for this?" Yes, I would like to know where we're at, and so I believe that that was the beginning kind of this little process of going through the book of Revelation and understanding the story that is sort of tucked away inside of Revelation 12 in particular. So, the travail of the woman, oh my, I think we're seeing it. And if someone were to ask me, do I think this is the beginning of the time when we're going to be, um, the woman is going to go into serious travail? I would have to say, yes, I think this is it. I do think this is it. And now remember, there is a window of time, and the window of time for our rapture is, well, the change and then the rapture 7 or 8 days later is, starting October 16th, and that window will close on November 20th. So we have a couple of months there, a month and a half really. Um, so I know I've talked about Feast of Tabernacles being a likely feast. If we go over a feast, that's the likely one. Today is Rosh Hashanah, a Feast of Trumpets, and I think yesterday was the pre-trumpet blast when Iran attacked Israel, and now we gotta wait and see how Israel is gonna respond to that attack, and I believe we're off to the races. I think this is, this is exactly what I would have expected. This is what I would have expected. And, yeah, Canadian Pepper said that's what's happening. Yeah, it's like reading Revelation. We're praying for that guy. I'm just praying he gets saved. So, yeah, and the passage in Hebrews 10:36 to 37, we have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, you might receive the promise for yet a little while, and he shall come and will not tarry. And that's exactly the case. We need to be patient. We need to, be asking the Lord every day what he has for us, what he wants us to be doing, because these days are very precious, and they're to be invested in God's kingdom. So the travail of the woman, I believe that started, and labor, having had 3 children, I had natural childbirth with all of them, and I also helped deliver 4 of my daughter's children. So, I'm familiar with labor and delivery, and it's a process, and it's a process where you start out with a pang, and you're not quite sure what's happening, and after a while, they get stronger and they get closer together, stronger and closer together, and that's exactly, what I would expect to see, is that there would be these pauses, in between, and then there will be some serious activity, and then there's some more pauses again. And, that's where, that's what I would, I'm looking at the chat here. I really shouldn't be looking at the chat while I'm doing this. That's what I would expect to see. Okay. And somebody asked about my clothes. I always get them at the thrift store. Sorry. they're always from the thrift store. Happen to be fortunate enough to have some nice thrift stores here in Idaho, and they always have really great prices. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I've always liked clothes ever since I was a little girl. So how does the rapture have anything to do with Israel? I thought it was for Gentiles. Well, the rapture is actually for believers who are neither Jew nor Greek, but they've been all made into one body. So when we talk about believers, there's no such thing as a Gentile believer or a Jewish believer. We're all one in him, and there is just one. One group, one church, one ecclesia. So that's a really good question, Renee. Garrett, how does the rapture have anything to do with Israel? Well, the book of Revelation is using allusions, which are indirect references to Old and New Testament scriptures, uh, and it uses symbols. Okay, so Revelation is the book that tells us the story of the end times, and it's a series of visions. They're not necessarily written in chronological order at all, and there are other ways to be able to tell what the story is. And it's taken me about 7 years to sort of decode and decipher the book and use the allusions. But here's how Israel fits into it. Okay. We know that Israel has to come back to the land. That's a prophecy that is indirectly hinted at in Matthew 24 when Jesus talks about how Jerusalem is going to be destroyed, and he's basically quoting from Daniel 9 that talks about the people, the prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and that was Titus in 70 AD. Okay, so they all were dispersed. But in order for the man of sin to stand in the temple of God and for the remnant to flee, Israel has to come back again. And that's what Ezekiel 36 tells us, is that the dry bones are going to come back into the land. Okay, and that happened. And we know that the people who see the fig tree blossom or leaf out, fig tree represents Israel, are also going to be the same people who see the second coming of Christ. So we're talking about basically a generation of normal lifespan of 70 to 80 years, and you could go up to 81, which is what we will be doing here. But in Revelation, we read about a woman who has a crown of 12 stars, and the moon is at her feet, and she's clothed with the sun. The woman actually represents the constellation Virgo. The crown of 12 stars is alluding to the 12 tribes. Okay. Then in the next vision, the sign of the dragon, which is the next sign that's going to happen, we see the woman about to give birth, and she's in travail, and Satan comes and stands before the woman. All of this is in Revelation 12. So we have to ask ourselves, is there any symbolism here? Is there any allusions? Does the woman still represent Israel? Well, we know that the woman represents Israel because later she's going to flee into the wilderness. We know that the remnant will flee from places we read in Matthew 24. Zechariah 14 talks about that as well. When Jesus steps down on the Mount of Olives, that's not at his second coming. It's when he comes to deliver Israel, take them into the wilderness. So this woman who represents the remnant of Israel is going to be in travail with a man-child, her firstborn. Okay, and this firstborn is going to be raptured. It's going to be caught up to God and to his throne. It's going to be brought into the throne room of God. This son, this raptured son, well, that's us, believers who are walking with Jesus and, living faithfully as best we can. And the woman is Israel. And what is travail? If we were to look into the Old Testament scriptures, the allusions, and symbols, we would know that, well, from Jeremiah, at least in like 3 or 4 places, Jeremiah talks about men being in travail, men who have their hands on their stomachs in agony because of the invasion coming from the north. So, Babylon was going to be invading. So, the travail is an invasion or a war, and the woman is Israel. And there's going to be a war in Israel before the male child is raptured or is caught up to God into his throne. So that's how we get that there has to be a war in Israel, and why our rapture is actually tied to other Old Testament prophecies, and it's tied to what's going on in Israel. Now, the common teaching about this, if you've come out of a pre-tribulation eschatology kind of school of thought, is that the rapture is imminent. People believe in only one. There's only one rapture. It's the rapture of the bride or the rapture of the church. There's only one, and it's could happen at any time. It's not tied to any other prophecies in the book of Revelation or anywhere else, and that's simply not true. Our um our destiny is tied up with all the other believers that we read about in Revelation, including the 144,000 of Israel. And it's tied up with the events that we read about in the book of Revelation, including the travail of the woman, the war in Israel, which I believe we is happening right now. So we're not in hard labor yet. That hasn't happened. It's just it's birth pangs, right? We're in birth pangs. We haven't gotten there yet. We're not exactly there yet, but are we is this the year that the baby will be delivered? I absolutely think that this is the year. Now, does that mean I'm right? No, doesn't mean I'm right at all. But it means that's my opinion. That's what I think. This is what I would expect from all the things that I've seen. Smitty 25 CA question: do I think the scroll in the sky is an ICBM? I think you're wanting to know about the uh, the scroll in Zechariah, and I actually haven't done a lot of study on that, but I've seen how other people have made the dimensions, and it talks about lead and a bunch of other things that it could be that, but I don't know for a fact because it's not been something that I've looked at. So I'm just going through, um, and just seeing if there's any other questions here before I talk. Okay, Michelle PTL question: when the Lord roars to notify we are going to change, do only the changed hear it or do all hear? That's a good question. Now, in the scriptures, other times when God has spoken, like for example, when God spoke from heaven and it sounded like it thundered, and some people heard it, and some people heard it like it was probably an angel speaking to somebody. Others said that it thundered, and I think that people will hear something, but I don't know that they'll know what they've heard. But I think we're gonna hear, and it's possible that others may hear it as well. It doesn't say they won't. Now, will they understand what they've heard? Well, that's a good question. I don't know that they will, but we will. We'll understand what we've heard. We'll know exactly what we've heard. And then there are the 7 thunders, which I believe are the 7 spirits of God who are going to speak from heaven and are going to say something as well. I used to think that they were part of the change, people being changed both in earth and on heaven, but I'm kind of leaning toward it's very possible that these may be our specific marching instructions for, for when we're changed, when we're going to be, you know, doing something, when the Satan is going to try to devour us. There may be something there. We don't know what the 7 thunders said, but because it's not written down in Revelation, but it's very possible. Well, I think we will know. We'll know exactly what is being said from heaven when the day comes. So let's see if there's any other questions here. Um, Okay, let's go down, down, down. And, thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate everybody. And I think I am probably going to have to do some live streams either much earlier in the day or later in the evening so that people in other parts of the world can tune in and it's not going to be so early in the morning or so late at night. So, Amanda Stevens, question from my hubby. Why would Satan be wasting energy trying to tempt us in our immortal state for 8 days if we cannot lose salvation but only rank? Okay, so here's the thing. Satan and his fallen angels are going to lose their place to us. When we get rank, we're going to pull rank and they will no longer have a place in heaven. He wants to keep us from getting to that place where we can replace them. The whole idea here, it's all end time spiritual warfare is it's fallen angels that this is a warfare where in the end, all of Satan and his fallen angels are going to be cast to the earth and displaced by us. And we're going to take their place. And, Satan does not want that. But if we lose position, they can still hold position because there aren't any replacements. So that's going to be the big deal there, why he doesn't want us to make it to actually, be the king and a priest. And so, yeah, it's he'll be unemployed. Once we get up there, all those guys are unemployed. They no longer have a job. And yeah, so they'll be on the earth and hoping to keep it together here on earth, but eventually when Jesus returns, along with all of us returning with him, um, then Satan and the fallen angel, well, Satan will be cast into the pit, but all the fallen angels, the demons, all the watchers, sons of God who mated with human women prior to the flood, who are in the pit, will be on the earth. All of those guys and the demons and the earth dwellers are all going to be thrown into the lake of fire before the millennium, Christ's glorious reign actually begins on earth. So this is a huge spiritual warfare. It's not it's much bigger than any of us have any idea, and our roles are going to be much bigger than any of us have ever dreamed. So I hope that helps answer the question. All right, Kim Mueller says whenever God showed up in the Old Testament, there was always lightning and thunder. Maybe we hear the trumpet and his voice come up hither and the world hears a clap of thunder. Could be, don't know. It's yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with all of that. It's very exciting though to contemplate. I know it's fun to think about. So Jesus saves. When should we expect the sign of the dragon? Okay, well, we're already sort of there. The woman is actually in active labor. That's Israel has you can see that the baby's coming here. This is not going to end. This isn't going to quit. This is not stopping. This is not false labor. This is the real deal and we're there. None of this is going back. This is the most opportune time for all the events that are need to be in place for the seals to be opened and all of that. All of the convergence is here. So I don't think that this can be delayed. And so the travail part of the sign of the dragon is in process. Okay. So there's a couple more things we're waiting for. Well, we're waiting for the agony of travail. Okay. The woman will be in agony. Okay. Isaiah 66 says there's um no travail before she was in travail. She was delivered of a son. That isn't us. That isn't this. That's Israel. That's prior to the millennium. The woman will be in travail, in agony to be delivered when just before our rapture. And Satan will be here on earth. I don't know if he's going to manifest in any sort of certain way or not. I don't know. But the stars, a third of the stars are going to fall from the sky. And what was interesting when we watched Iran bombing Israel, during the night, a lot of those bombs that were falling looked like stars. So it could be that Satan's angels mix in with, you know, missiles and stuff that are falling to the earth. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here, just thinking along with the rest of you. So I think the sign of the dragon, which is it's a package of events, okay, that are going to take place. And actually, part of the sign of the dragon includes things that are going to happen a few months out, like the woman who flees into the wilderness. That's all part of the sign of the dragon, too. But our rapture is part of the sign of the dragon. So our rapture has to be by November 20th, and that's plus or minus 24 hours, depending on where you are in the world. So the sign of the dragon, I believe, is starting now. It started yesterday, and it's going to end at the latest on November 20th. So that's how we can expect. Have I, Bold as a Lion asked me, have I researched Pact for the Future passed by the United Nations? I haven't looked at the actual material, but I've watched a lot of videos where people talk about the Pact for the Future, and that is basically a supranational um, agreement that will supersede national sovereignty. I mean, there's still going to be nations and all, but when there's like things that where it looks like the world is out of control and the powers that be want to get back in control, well, that's what the Pact for the Future is all about. And that is a harlot thing. Okay, that is the harlot. And this is how Satan is operating. He's using the harlot Babylonian system to get this global thing all in place. And then God is going to put it in the heart of the beast and the 10 kings to destroy the harlot. And Satan doesn't really want the harlot either, because he's going to replace her with his son, his fake son, the Antichrist. So the harlot system and the beast kingdom are not going to operate at the same time. Okay, the beast hates the harlot, and when he gets into power, and Satan is here on earth, having been cast out of heaven along with all of his fallen angels, and he's going to make it look all glorious. Okay, he's going to make it look like the second coming of Christ, or like something like that, or God dwelling with men. He's going to make it look like that, and the third of mankind being killed at that same time is going to look like Armageddon. It's all counterfeit. It's all fake. And the goal is setting everything up for when the beast begins to reign. So you kind of need this global thing going. And that's what the harlot is doing. That's her thing. And she has no idea that she's going to be thrown under the bus. And that's what Revelation 18 talks about. Behold, I sit as a queen, I'm never going to suffer loss. I'm going to be fine. Okay. But then it says in a single hour, she is destroyed on a single day. And of course, that's the sixth trumpet on a hour, day, month, and year that's already been predetermined by God. She is going to be destroyed, not in her entirety. There's going to be bits and pieces of her left, and those people are going to try to get it back again, but it's not possible. And then at Christ's second coming, that's when he remembers Babylon the Great and destroys her finally in its entirety. So let's see another question here. Go up. I think I'm missing some. Oh boy. Seraphin, question. Why do you think that the book of Daniel is not also for the end times? Oh, I do think it's for the end times. The last half of Daniel's 70th week is for the end times. And it will start, the last half of Daniel's 70th week begins with the abomination of desolation. Begins with that. And then it will last 3.5 years. And then the second coming of Christ will be on the Day of Atonement at the end of that week of years. So I do think Daniel is for the end times, just not the whole 70th week. The whole 7 years is not, just the last 3.5. Dan Pizarra says, does there need to be peace and safety before the rapture? No, there does not, because you have to ask the question, who are they who say peace and safety? Who are they? Who are the ones who are wanting to control this world and own it? Well, that's Satan, the beast, the false prophet, the fallen angels, the angels from the pit, the demons. They are the ones who are trying to lay claim to the earth, because if they've been kicked out of heaven, this is the place for them. And the thing about the last half of Daniel's 70th week, this last 3.5 years, most people are either going to be dead or raptured. That's the bottom line. They will either have been killed during the seals. They will have been martyred at this terrible persecution of believers during the fifth seal martyrs. There's without number people who are killed for their faith. There will have been two raptures, our rapture, the rapture of the male child, and then the 144,000 will be kept from the hour of trial, that hour that comes upon the earth to try those who dwell on earth. Okay, that's a literal hour there. It's not metaphorical. And there's going to be this big shift where Satan and his angels who used to be up here are going to be on the earth, and people who used to live on earth, the heaven dwellers, are now going to be living in heaven. And so there's going to be this big shift, and it's going to look like God is going to keep heaven and believers who are in heaven and all of that, and that's going to be God's turf. And the earth, then the world, is going to be Satan and the Antichrist's turf. This is where they will be. And for a long time, there'll be the abomination of desolation, and then year one, and there's no interference from heaven. There's no prophets, really. There's nothing. Okay. Year two, and Satan and the fallen angels and the people who are going to relinquish their bodies to be the image of the beast, just like we're in the image of Christ, they're going to be in the image of the beast. They're all going to be here. Okay. And they're going to just be here. And it's not going to look like God is intervening or interfering with what they do, until one day when the sky rolls up like a scroll and the sun and moon go dark and the people see the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. There he is. And then they go down into their bunkers. They're going to realize, oh no, he's coming back. And then we're going to have the bowls, the 7 bowls, and there's going to have to be these evil spirits coming out of the mouth of the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon to lure these people out of their hidey holes, to deceive them to come to Armageddon. And they are the ones that are going to say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes on them like travail on a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. They're not going to escape this. They're not. They're going to be judged. So the peace and safety that people talk about, they say, I don't. Okay, I've done a video on that. The peace and safety thing. It's who are the they? You have to ask who the they are, and the they is the beast, the false prophet, the dragon, Satan, and all the entities who are holding on to the earth to try to make it theirs. So hope that helps. Okay, I am working on the video for part 3, and Russ White. I wonder if they know who their replacements are. I don't know that they know. They just know it's us. Okay, so once we're changed, we're going to have a target on our back. They're going to know exactly who they're going after. Okay, so let's see. Any other questions here? Yeah, almost ready to be wheeled into the delivery room then. Well, not quite. We're still in the labor room, still in the labor room. And all right, so Anna 717. Question: if the firstborn child must be male, does that mean only men will be changed or go up in the first rapture? Again, we're just talking symbols here. We're just talking symbolism. And you don't have to be like a man to be to be represented as a firstborn son. So, like if you go to the book of Romans, for example, Romans 8 talks about sons of God. And when the Bible talks about sons of God who are, let me just see if I can find it here. Um, it- well, not finding what I want. Um, what I'm not finding the passage that I want, but sons is just a way of saying that you're someone who's going to inherit. Um, Girls did not inherit, but sons did. And here's the other question. So when we talk about the bride of Christ, does that mean only women are going to be a part of the bride? No, it's just a symbol. It's just used symbolically. So men and women are both going to be inheritors. In Christ, there's no male or female. It's just we're all one in Him. And the same thing is true about the 24 elders. Well, an elder is always a man. It's masculine. The elders, a king is always a man. A priest is always a man. But we know that this is represents uh, believers. And we know that from Revelation chapter 1. Me I know I can find that one. Revelation 1. To him who's loved us and freed us from our sins by his blood and has made us a kingdom, priest to his God and Father, to him be dominion forever and ever. So when we talk about priests, are we just talking about men? Because in the Old Testament, only men could be priests. But what we see here is that we've been made into kings and priests by his blood. Did God, did Jesus die to only save men? The answer is no. So these are just being used symbolically. Okay. So, you don't have to be a man. Just like with the 144,000 of Israel, they're not all men either. That's a symbolic number. And they're firstborn, they're redeemed from the earth, and they didn't have relations with women. And the women that's being talked about here are the harlot and her daughters, Jezebel, those women who are going to corrupt all believers, not just men, but also women. And it's spiritual fornication. It's not physical. So part of the problem of Revelation is thinking symbolically, is learning how to view these things as symbols and not as being literal. So one of the few things that is literal in the book of Revelation is time. Time is always literal. All right. So I hope that helps. All right. Mindy Mayhew, since Israel is without help of USA, do you think we're incapacitated at that time? Well, I think there's going to be serious drama, let's put it like that. And whether we can't help because somebody just blew up an aircraft carrier like that, or there was some kind of EMP or some kind of unusual cyber something or another that we can't actually help them. That may be, a scenario. Another scenario is that America has just descended into chaos, which, that's coming. That is coming. That is a scenario. Um, so, this is just all stuff that we can watch for. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out. We just know that that there is going to be, um, yeah, the United States is not going to be helpful. There's some way that we're taken out of the way anyway, out of being able to help. And I just saw an article where somebody asked President Biden if Israel attacks Iran's nuclear site, will we help Israel? And he said no. So there, you got that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Um, Question, something weird, shouldn't there always be a moon in the sky every night? You should see it. Actually, no. There's a time when the moon is dark, and then you have to wait a day or two, and then you'll see the sliver of the moon, and that's what people are looking for tonight. So you don't always see the moon in the sky. Let's see what other questions we got here. Nancy D 70, are the 144,000 only comprised of Jewish people, or is it for those who missed the first rapture? It's a really great question. And they are from the 12 tribes of Israel. So there are people who would, if I say yes, they're Jewish, they'll go, now Jewish people are only from the tribe of Judah. I know that. Okay. So they're of Israel. They'll be from the 12 tribes of Israel, and they are not just people who missed the first rapture. Most of the people who missed the first rapture will die. And it's not a problem if they die. This is actually their best exit strategy is being, martyred, and most Christians will be martyred. So only the 144,000, if they're faithful, if they overcome, if they obey the instructions that are in the letters to the seven churches, they'll be kept from the hour of trial. And then they too will have um, get their immortal body on day one, and then be raptured on the eighth day. So that's when they'll be redeemed. All right. So I think I answered that question. Uh, so many others say America is under judgment. Are we? Um, we're not under any special judgment that isn't going to fall on everybody else. I mean, the whole thing is going up in smoke. You know that, right? This is all coming down, and America is, one of the big, we're the big military, we're the big economic deal. The dollar is the U.S. reserve currency. And so, I think it will kind of start with us, that we're the first domino that'll fall. And once we fall, then everybody else follows us. So, if we're under judgment, everybody else is going to follow after. So, okay. All right. So Svetlana says, live, the annular solar eclipse, October 2nd, 2024. Rosh Hashanah starts tonight, and the eclipse starts at 12:15 p.m. Wherever you are, light a candle and be ready. Okay. Well, you can light a candle or not, but we should always be ready to serve the Lord at any time. So, but it'd be fun to view that annular eclipse. I like watching them. So, um, let's see here. Looking for caps. John boldly proclaiming his power. Will the two witnesses 3.5 year ministry happen the same time as the Antichrist 42-month rule? No, actually, hopefully the two witnesses have been here and are doing what they do. It's a very similar to a John the Baptist type ministry. I've got a lot of videos on that, and so I refer you to some of those videos on the two witnesses. But if we are leaving this fall, well, they may actually be public this fall. But here's the thing, the world is going to be in chaos this fall, and whether or not we actually know about them being here and public, I have no idea. And if they're here and public during a time when there's these horrible labor pains in Israel, I don't I don't know how it is that we would know that they're here. So I don't know that we will ever actually know they're here. We're told they're here, and I think part of their job is to prepare the 144,000 to be sealed, which is part of what we do. So, and they are actually um, resurrected and ascend into heaven on the day of the abomination of desolation. So that's when they will ascend, and then all the events that are associated with that day, the sixth trumpet, the abomination of desolation, the flight of the woman into the wilderness as led by Jesus, who is going to lead her out there. That'll all happen on that day. Okay, Bruce Matson, will we be more powerful when we are changed? Um, I'm going to save the answer for that for the video that I'm working on right now, and I think the answer to that is yes. Yes, yes, yes. We will be. We'll be more powerful. It's My husband and I have been having some very interesting discussions about this, and so I'm just going to wait until I can present it all in a kind of a nice little package for you. So I hope you can wait for that. So, see if I see any other um, questions here. Okay, so here's one. From WPOA Silver question. Stand in the door, don't let go of the threshold. I was wondering, I would actually keep silent and wait on instruction through the Holy Spirit. Do we know the moment we are eternal brings? Okay, so when I talk about that we're standing in the doorway or that we're standing in the threshold, Tom said something to me. He said, Brenda, a lot of people don't understand the symbolism. So you probably should spell it out for them. Okay, so to be in the threshold or to stand in the doorway means we're ready to make a transition from one life to another. So we're in this moment of transition where we don't belong to either place. We don't belong to heaven yet because we're not there, and we don't belong to the earth yet. So we're in a moment of transition. That doesn't mean we won't be doing things or we shouldn't be saying things as instructed. What this means is we're not to participate in whatever our earthly life was, it's over. It's done. Okay. We are no longer a part of what is happening here on the earth. We're making a transition into a different life, but we haven't actually gone into that heavenly life yet. We haven't crossed through that open door in heaven yet. So we're in this transition place. And this is also related to the first battle of the promised land. This is actually going to be the first battle that takes place between spiritual beings and us in this case, believers. And it's like the Battle of Jericho. The first battle belongs to the Lord. The Lord fights the first battle, and he is guaranteed that he's going to win it. Okay, that's guaranteed, just like the Battle of Jericho was guaranteed. If people did exactly what they were told, the battle was guaranteed. There was no way you could lose. And so to stand in the doorway means that you are done with one life, but you haven't fully entered into the next one where we're going to rule and reign, as priests. But as far as our transformation goes, we actually will have acquired our heavenly body, the body that we're going to be living in heaven. And then once we get to heaven, we're still in this body, but God is going to add glory to us. He's going to glorify it and make it uh, give us honor in his presence. I'm not even sure how to say all this stuff. It's so awesome. But the thing is, you're just going to obey, and it's going to be very easy. You're going to know what to do. And especially if you forewarned is forearmed, you're going to be great. So, but we're in a transitional place, which is what the whole um, priest thing, standing in the doorway in your beautiful garments. The priests were in their beautiful garments. in the doorway. Okay. So for example, they were told, don't leave it. Don't leave the doorway. They're commanded to leave, to live in this place, this kind of no man's land. And, I'm sure maybe one of them could have been tempted to go say hey to their wife or whatever out in the camp. Don't do it. You're no longer a part of whatever's going on in the camp or in the world. You're not a part of that. That story is gone. But you haven't begun your future ministry yet. That hasn't started. It's this no man's land. So you have to be aware that you're not a part of what is happening on the earth except as commanded by the Lord. So the whole standing in the doorway thing is, the getting ready to cross the threshold is such an amazing thought. And I think for a lot of us, that we're already beginning mentally this transition where we're more focused on our future life and what we're going to be doing with the Lord and being with Him. And this, things of earth go strangely dim, that our heavenly thoughts, we're more concerned with that than we are with the things in this world and things of this life. And we're already beginning to make this transition. We still haven't made it physically, though. So, yeah. Corey Harwell, I've always wanted to understand how angels do battle in the spiritual realm. Are angels capable of becoming exhausted? I don't know that they're capable of becoming exhausted, but I think that, well, like in Daniel, for example, the prince of Persia withstood, the other angel, and then Michael had to come and help. So it took more forces, higher ranking forces for the angel to get through. So I don't know if anybody gets tired, but I think sometimes the enemy can be stronger or just by sheer number overwhelm. But remember, there's always more with us than are with them. So that's my understanding of, the strength of angels and so on and so forth. Uh, KJ Jed, any thoughts on Dimitri Duduman's prophecy? And nothing right off the top of my head, but I think it's probably time for me to go back and check that out again. Hope, faith. Will we remember anything from earth when we're in heaven? Um, you know, this is something that I'm not sure why we think that we won't remember things, except for that we know that the Bible tells us that God is going to wipe away all tears from their eyes, our eyes, or people's eyes anyway. um, and so I think that we actually remember things that, you know, there's a reason why people are crying. But I think the idea is we know who we are, we know who we were, and like when the change happens and it's in a twinkling of an eye that we get changed from mortal to immortal into a celestial body, not a terrestrial body, but a celestial body. Our mind is the same and our spirit is the same and it's all intact. It's like we are who we are with all the memories and everything. Now, memories tend to fade, and I think they'll through time, memories fade, and they certainly won't be painful like we, in eternity. They're not going to be. It's not going to be painful to think about things, but will we remember? I think we'll remember quite a bit. We'll probably remember more than we remember now, especially as I get older and forget things. So we're going to be who we are. Okay, who we are. Our history is a part of who we are. And all that's we're gonna just take it all with us. So we are who we are, even in the next life. Deb Eberhart, sorry. Next video can be very long, very thorough. Well, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. So sometimes long isn't necessarily more thorough. It's more about being clear, which you can always pray for me to be clear. Will the events of Revelation be recognized by the world as supernatural, or will everything look natural? Oh, I think it's going to be recognized as supernatural. It may take a while for some people to get on the bus about that, but after a while, there isn't going to be any question about that. They're going to understand this is supernatural. This is supernatural. And they may want to attribute, like ancient aliens or something like that to the may throw that into the mix, stuff like that, or the Anunnaki and all of that. They're not gonna want it to seem biblical, like it's straight out of the Bible, but they're gonna recognize this stuff as supernatural. And I think that their version of what is going on is going to be the fake, it's fake, right? But they're going to say that what we say or what people who are left behind say about the book of Revelation being the reality of it, they're going to call that fake news. And anybody who promotes that fake news, that testimony, is going to be killed for their faith because they only want one narrative going. And I'm not sure exactly what the narrative will be, whether it's, like aliens or the Anunnaki have come back or whatever. They have a narrative that they're going to push. And if you say, look, this is in the book of Revelation, okay, that'll get your head cut off or get you martyred. So, but yes, they'll be recognized. All right. Let's see what else we got. And we got 55, almost 56 minutes into this video. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Stever G, will we have an emergency live stream when Israel goes into travail? Well, she's in travail right now, but you're talking about the big bad stuff, right? If we can, I'm thinking of doing more live streams, not just one a week, but I mean, I'm thinking of doing more. I'm going into the time of year when I'm not as busy here on the farm. I still am doing canning and having to do stuff, but I'm not going to be as busy. And so there'll be more time for live streams where I don't have to do other things as well. So I'm hoping to do more of that. And, I think it's good that we just gather. And I know for people in the chat, it's nice for you just to have fellowship in the chat and be able to talk with each other and encourage each other, as we're all doing kind of the same thing together. And, I think it's really good. I think it's really important that we get together and encourage each other as we see the day approaching. Okay, Lisa, my questions for the children, will they automatically be raptured? Okay, the thing about the children, and then I'll get to your question, Connie. I see it there. The children. I've done 2 videos on children, and I'm standing by pretty much everything that I said in those videos, looking back on it about children. If you're a believer, your children go with you. Okay, they're your stewardship. Okay, and the pattern for that would have been the Exodus when the people left Egypt. It wasn't just the grown-ups who left. Okay, it was everybody. The children left too. And the idea was to save everybody. Israel was God's firstborn. Every family had a firstborn. The goal was to save the firstborn, and the children went with. So the age of accountability in the story of the Exodus seems to be 20 years old, actually. Kind of interesting. I don't know that everybody under 20 is going to come with us, but it's very possible. And will they be a king and a priest? Some children may, but probably not all. Does that mean that they won't go with us if they're not going to be a king and a priest? No, I think they still can go with us because of the whole leper, waits in the doorway for 7 days. And it's a picture of sin and sinners. Okay, and children are sinners too, and they can wait in the doorway. They just need to be cleansed. They've also have to wait the 7 days because of the whole dead body thing, and then on the 8th day, they can be raptured. It doesn't mean, though, that they'll be a king and a priest or go into the heavenly temple part where God is, but they could still be in heaven. So that's my thinking about it, is that if you're a believer, you'll have your children will accompany you. Now, if you're not a believer, well, the Egyptian children didn't go with the Israelites. So I don't know that all children will go. I just don't know that. I don't think so. A lot of people teach that, but I don't, because I don't really see that as part of a biblical pattern. Okay, so Connie wants me to talk about China, Taiwan, and their possible role, and the vision that I had. And I was totally awake when I saw this. I had a non-functioning, where I don't want to say non-functioning. It did function, but it was it wasn't in good shape. And the monitor would periodically, glitch out on me, and there would be like the old color TVs where you'd see these colors going back and forth. And that happened to me one day, and I could see words on the screen, and it said, China invades Taiwan and Jesus comes. Didn't say rapture. That wasn't what it said. China invades Taiwan, Jesus comes. And so this was back in 2015. And I remember that because it was the year my one grandson was born. And so the only way I just thought my computer was glitching out. The monitor was glitching out. So I shut it down, rebooted it, and it came back up, and then it did the same thing again, and I could still see the writing, China invades Taiwan, Jesus comes. And I was like, is that like I'm glitching, this is glitching out, and I'm seeing some kind of video thing, and so I went and I kind of did this search thing to see if there was a rapture going to happen when China invades Taiwan, and was there any dreams that people had or whatever, and there nothing came up. And then this thing happened again. It happened a third time. China invades Taiwan, Jesus comes. And the third time that happened, it kind of got my attention. And I was like, what's going on here? This is weird. Closed it down, booted it back up again, and then it was totally normal. And I started searching for this, and I couldn't find anything. And I also remember thinking, now what's the deal with China and Taiwan? And so I, Wikipedia'd that, and I went, oh yeah, that's right. They, independence and all of that. And Jesus comes. That was what I saw. Jesus is coming for me. Jesus is coming for me. It's not like the second coming. The impression I got was he's coming for me. Like I'm going to go. He's coming. But it didn't say rapture. It said Jesus comes. And this is before I knew anything about Revelation and the fact that Jesus is going to descend to earth and change us, seal the 144,000, and then we're going to be raptured. This was before I knew any of that. But Jesus comes is what it said. And my understanding, or what the Lord was showing me, and I was wide awake when all this was happening. And in fact, as soon as my husband got home from work, I said, I had the weirdest thing happen to me today. And I'm just going to tell you because I just want you to be thinking about it with me, because I don't really even know what to think about this. But the idea here, and this is, I can totally see this happening now, is that before we're changed, before Jesus comes to change us, China will invade Taiwan. That's part of the story. China will invade Taiwan. And if you're on Discord, you can see the status of China and Taiwan, and how many incursions China's made every day, and whether it's escalatory or not. Some of the best news, and really it is the best news that I've found, is on our Discord channel. So the link for where you can join Discord is in the description box below this video. And from what it looks like, this is China's 75th. Is it 75th? anniversary, you know, of being there since the revolution or whatever. And Xi Jinping is really um, wanting to reunify Taiwan with mainland China, and that's a big deal for him. And they have already, I think, like 120,000 troops on the coast of the Fujian province, which borders is the coastline there that's opposite of Taiwan, and they've been practicing amphibious drills and, of course, with the planes and, the ships making blockades and all of that. And they have all the stuff that they need for a few months to be able to supply all the people and the ships and the landing stuff, and, it's all military stuff that I don't really know much about, but apparently this is a plan. This is something they're gonna wanna do. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Gog-Magog invasion happened in Israel at the same time China invades Taiwan. So now the United States has got 2 fronts that we are working with. And if there is, Russia does something against NATO, that's 3. And so, I don't know. I don't know how all that's going to play out, but China and Russia are pretty tight, and I think they're working together for global domination. So I think that's how that's going to work. So I hope that helps you out there, Connie. So. All right, we're at an hour. I have time for maybe 1 or 2 other questions, and then we'll see what, um, um, Dee asked, "Did Mrs. Brenda say how long left she thinks? I'm wondering about tomorrow night as a possible rapture." There won't be any rapture apart from a change, so we're gonna be changed to immortal. And then on the 8th day after we've been changed, that's when the rapture will be, and the earliest that I see that happening, of our change happening, would be October 16th, which is the first day of Tabernacles, but the window for that, it goes all the way into November. So, I know people are anxious for a Feast of Trumpets rapture, or maybe a Tabernacles rapture, or an 8th day rapture, and, you know, once you're getting to the 8th day, okay, well, now we have opportunity, but, I think more people need to know this information, so it may go a little longer. Um, so there you go. All right. See what else I got here. Um, okay. Could we possibly see Jeremiah 49 fulfilled soon? I don't know what Jeremiah 49 is. Let me look it up. Oh, I think you're talking about Elam breaking, um yeah, so I think there's a guy out there, what's his name? Bill Salas, who does, like, end time wars and stuff, and so I think this is one of them that he's talking about. I'm just guessing here, and I don't do that. I am the only war that I'm interested in right now is the travail of the woman, and I think that's the Gog-Magog invasion. And then the end of all these, wars, well, the the end of World War III will be about 5 months after our rapture. Okay, that's when the end of the nuclear exchange will happen, the big one. I think there'll be a smaller one, though, um, before we leave. So, and Will children get changed into an adult body? I have no idea. I kind of doubt it. I think they'll still be kids. How do we know we'll go in the first rapture? I feel totally inadequate. Well, good for you. I feel totally inadequate too. And I'm just thankful that it's not about being adequate. I'm thankful that it's about the grace of God in my life. And if you love Jesus, and Iris, I believe you love Jesus. If you love Jesus and you love him enough to want to be with him, and you're following him to the best of your ability, nobody has to be perfect. Perfection isn't even it's not even on the table here. It's just faithfulness, and that just means that you fall down, you get up, and you keep moving forward. You never stop moving forward with Jesus. Okay, you just keep moving forward, you keep loving him, and loving the brethren is one way that we know we love God. Okay, loving the brethren is one way we know we love God. And love of the brethren is one of the most important things we can do. Loving one another. I just cannot overemphasize that. Cannot. A little outpost of heaven is what the church is meant to be, where the culture of heaven permeates our life and what we do. And the culture of heaven is love. That's the culture of heaven. Love, joy, peace, all of that. And, if that's what we're trying to walk in, if that's the goal of our life, we're going to be taken in the first rapture. Those are the kind of people Jesus wants to be in heaven, are people who love him. Okay, people who love him and who love one another. Those are the people he wants to be there. People who are whose lives are being changed from the inside out so that, you know, we can be like Jesus. So, anyway, okay. So I think I'm about done here. So okay. Somebody said something about Kat Walden, David Bird. Wow, I would love Brenda to answer your question. Okay. I don't know David Bird's question. And I see Eliane. I'm not really sure how to say your name, sister. I hope I said it correctly. When do I think the two witnesses will appear publicly on the Day of Atonement? Very possibly on the Day of Atonement. Very possibly. Yeah. All right. So, why don't more teachers know about this? It's because they're stuck in denominations. That's why they don't know about it. Okay. And I'm still looking for David Bird's. Oh, there it is. Question. Knowing that time is fluid, do you think we actually interact with time travelers? Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to know the answer to that. Um, anyway, so sorry, I'm not that smart. Sorry. All right. So, thank you guys for showing up today. It's a real, oh, what are we doing here for 8 days? It's what we're doing here for 7 days. And I've done so many videos on that. And we don't know exactly, like you're not going to know exactly what you are going to be doing during that time because you have yet to receive instructions. We know some of the things that will be happening during that time. And that is, we know the 144,000 are going to be sealed, and Jesus is going to have people doing it with him. Okay. So some of us may do that. Some of us may do other things. We're all going to have an assignment. And the Battle of Jericho is a perfect example of that. The first battle in the Promised Land. They were to walk around the city, right? 7 days. And or was it 6 days? And on this 6th day, they went around 7 times. That's how it went. Okay. And everybody had a job. The priests were to carry the ark. And Levites, I think, were to blow the trumpets, and everybody else was just to walk and be quiet. So everybody had a job. The Levites didn't, they weren't carrying armor, and the soldiers weren't blowing trumpets. Everybody had a job, and they knew what they were supposed to do. They were instructed in what to do. So everybody is going to know what their role is, what their job is to do, and everybody's just going to do what they're called to do. So during that 7-day window of time when we're, neither a part of the earth nor have gone into heaven yet, this is something that we're going to be told to do, what to do. I don't know any other way of how we would know this stuff unless we were instructed. We know what some of it is, but we don't know what all of it is. So there you go. Something about Bank of America in the chat. I guess I'll have to go back and take a look at what that is. I hope Mark Wilburn says, what is the age of cutoff for children? Well, I have a couple of videos on that, and I did answer the question earlier in the video. And it seems to me, if we use the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, everybody went, but the cutoff age was like 20 years old when they could go into the promised land, whether or not they could go into the promised land. Okay, so the ones who were over 20 fell in the wilderness. The ones who were under 20 were able to enter into the promised land. So that seems to be a good number. All right. So thank you so much, mods, for being here today. I don't know what I'd do without you. There's no way I could keep track of everything in the chat. You're so gracious and so helpful to everybody. And really appreciate all of you for showing up today out of your busy life, and be encouraged. We're living through prophetic times. It's so exciting to be here, and Jesus is coming. So praise God. We'll see y'all in another video. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day or evening wherever you are in the world. So we'll see you later. Bye.